Glenn, where are you? I can't find you. How am I supposed to produce the show if you're not here? I guess now that Glenn is a international businessman, he thinks he doesn't have to open his own show.
Do you live, eat, and sleep the hotel industry? Looking to brush up on your game? You've come to the right place. Welcome to No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast with your host, Glenn Hausman.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to the No Vacancy podcast. This is, of course, Glenn Hausman, and I'm coming at you from Berlin. That's right, I'm at the IHIF. First time I'm ever in this city. First time, obviously, I'm ever at this event, and by coincidence, this event is run by Questex, where I happen to have a little editor-at-large gig with Hotel Management Magazine. But I'm not here for them, believe it or not, but I'm here enjoying Berlin, enjoying IHIF, and enjoying my time with the one and only Bruce Ford, who's with me.
Glenn, welcome to Europe, my friend. Come on now.
It is so great to be here. I was in London a couple of weeks ago. I'm in Berlin this week. I'm feeling like a global traveler right now.
Oh, my gosh. Well, wonders never cease. Everybody, pam down, okay? Let's go.
And as you know, Bruce Ford is the Senior Vice President of Global Business Development with Lodging Econometrics, the foremost authority on real estate here in the hospitality universe. It's a pretty cool title, Bruce.
Well, it is a good title, and, it's been, I think this is my 9th IHIF, and I do love coming to Berlin, and I was glad we could tour around this week and take a look at some of the things that want to, pass memories for you, Glenn, and but at the same time, Berlin just feels like I'm in New York. It's 40 degrees and still raining.
Yeah, except there's a lot more German accents here than in New York.
And we look funny, right? Because we're Americans, right?
Well, at least you didn't say I always look funny, so I thank you for the little things, Bruce.
Well, the little things count, Glenn. That's what we say. And so IHIF here, 2017, 20th anniversary of the conference. I said I've been about half of them. And the sentiment here, Glenn, is everybody wants to talk about President Trump.
Yeah, it's funny that you should mention the sentiment. I was going to ask you that very same question. I must tell you, and let me start off by doing a cautionary disclaimer that I'm only going to be reporting the news. This is not opinion based by me whatsoever. Go ahead.
Reporting the news. Okay, here we go. Every economic reaction in Europe is hinged on what President Trump might do. That would be what you would hear from almost all the Europeans that were here, which was astounding to me, considering we were in a conference in America not more than 6 weeks ago, and no one wanted to talk about it.
Yes, and be sure to check out that show where Bruce and I last appeared together in the same place, in the same time, which was in Los Angeles at the Alice Conference, and nobody did talk about it, which was bizarre. This, the direct opposite. The lesson I took away from this was, wow, I had no idea we were so important.
Well, the moves of the United States do tend to lead the global economy. Not everybody thinks of it that way, but in terms of how the U.S. Plays out both from the dollar perspective, the travel perspective, the policies with other countries, the relationships with other countries, it really does have a measurable effect across the world.
Yeah, it was surprising to me how people are waiting to see what happens. Very unsure what the policies are going to be, a complete lack of clarity here, and with a touch of we don't know what he's going to do because he hasn't proved to be dependable in his positions and his plans. Would that be fair?
True enough. But then in the next sentence, they all go on with, well, here's the things that are going to happen in Europe over the next several months. And, of course, there's quite a few elections. The presidential election in France is upon us. And Chancellor Merkel, I think, is, in jeopardy in Germany, I guess some people would say. So there's quite a few different things. happening over here, and we haven't even talked about the Brexit yet.
That's very true. My read on Europe in general is there seems to be a populist movement taking over, similar to what has happened in the United States. And as for Brexit, my feedback, and again, tell me if you disagree, if your intel out there was a little bit separate, but my guess is a lot of people are saying, and I shouldn't say guess, people told me this, is they're feeling like it is what it is. For right now, we're just going to pretend nothing is happening.
Well, I think that's probably the best move at this point because, policy takes time. And even when they voted for the Brexit last year, it still may take a couple more years before that's ever implemented. So it's all getting hot and bothered about a scenario that's not even in play yet. So in many cases, obviously, we have to be forecasters in real estate. We have to be forecasters in the hotel business. And everybody wants to be in tune with that. So we talked a lot about forecasting and GDP growth and, some new supply forecast, and it was a lot of information to digest. But generally, it seems that many of the people who took the stage want to pivot on what happens with President Trump in America.
And I find that so fascinating. I really do. I mean, the guy is a conundrum to the entire planet.
And he's a conundrum to the people that work for him.
Right.
So it's all up and down the aisle, ladies and gentlemen. I guess would be the best way to say it. And there's a few effects that we can talk about. I mean, when you look in the United States at the Dow Jones Industrial Average, it was 17,500 just a couple weeks before the election, and now it's over 21,000. So you talk about that's a 4-month period, if you will, and it's had a tremendous run.
Yeah, there's no denying that we seem to be in a major bull market. The questioning is what is behind that feeling. Is it a legitimate sense of positivity, or is it wishful thinking? And we can only hope that it keeps going up. But I'm of the school that, man, we keep breaking records going up and up and up. I wonder how bad the downfall is going to be. But that's just my programming.
Sure, and that's what forecasts are about, Glenn. People are trying to figure out exactly when that may happen, okay? And no one's certain, okay? In the last couple of economic slowdowns, we weren't certain that it was coming. Some people would have been certain. So people, try and read widely and, really kind of educate themselves. And much of what we're seeing in Europe, I think, today is that there are some uniqueness in terms of their economic conditions and their general hotel market conditions, almost by country throughout Europe.
Well, I would say in my understanding of what happened by country, you're seeing a disastrous type of situation happening within Turkey because of the terrorist attacks that they've had. People have just stopped going to Turkey. I spoke to some representatives of the Spanish government, and they seem to be very bullish on the notion that they're going to get 5 to 6 million additional travelers this year because of that alone.
Okay. That's a compelling stat. I think, France has seen the same kind of negative impact, and certainly those two countries on their own and on the whole can't drag down all of Europe. Okay, but they have a very unique situation there.
They do, and as a matter of fact, I had an opportunity to speak to Olivier Cohn, who runs the French aspect of Best Western International. I got to know Olivier when I did a panel with him during their annual conference, during a general session program in Phoenix, Arizona in October. And at that time, they were experiencing a lot of fallout due from the terrorism impact. He said since that time, things have been coming back, but of course not as quick as anyone would like.
Right. Yeah. Well, there's some impact. I mean, in the general European pipeline year over year, we've seen a 21% increase in projects and a 17% increase in rooms in the total pipeline, in a growing migration towards starting and getting under construction.
Wow. That's an interesting statistic. So how do you read into that?
Well, I think that, hotels on the whole right now with interest rates, pretty historically low in a lot of places, it still makes sense to do construction. And there are a number of places, not everywhere, but there's a number of places where valuations have peaked. Okay, I think I talked to a couple people who told me that Germany hotel transactions have been robust. And we're tracking that as well, and I agree with that sentiment. Not only robust, but frequent. There's been a lot of hotels that have sold up pretty big numbers year over year. And the sense is that there's a lot of money chasing the hotel industry simply because we've built better hotels. We've had so many brands, new brands, not just in America, but here in Europe as well, and those new brands are driving a more profitable and easier to develop type of hotel supply.
Wow. That's a whole lot of information to digest right there, especially because I'm at the end of 2 days of a major industry conference.
It's all right. I'll fill in for you, Glenn.
Yeah, that's
no big
good.
Deal.
That's good. If you had listened to my show 2 weeks ago that I did in London, I did it solo, this portion of the show, and I was toast.
Yeah.
Close to how I'm feeling right now, but I'm feeling a little bit more giddy because anytime I'm with you, I just feel very special.
Well, I don't feel like we spent enough time together while we've been here because you've been off doing a new assignment with BridgeStreet.com. Glenn, this is exciting. We did a little interview earlier yesterday, and
That's right. That's right. We're launching Here to Stay TV, which is focusing on the select service industry. Not select service, serviced apartment industry. And BridgeStreet.com is pretty cool in the sense that Bridge Street Global, which has about 50,000 serviced apartments, is now the first OTA within this sector, open to any type of customers. So it's easy for people to just go on and book. That's a big change for the service apartment business. And because it's an online travel agency, a lot of the competition, or what was the perceived competition, has now come on board to put their products in there as well.
So serviced apartment, for those of you that don't know, was the way it started. It was executive apartments for a little while. It was now serviced apartments.
There's still not a complete clarity on the term for it.
Okay, and it really doesn't quite run like a hotel from the sense that it's more like a vacation club kind of thing, but yet you can rent it in a given city, and it's a little bit less staff requirements, which is always the benefit of extended stay and the benefit of mid-scale lodging and upper mid-scale lodging and upscale lodging in general. And the reason that one of the other reasons, in addition to low interest rates, why development is increasing is because these products really do make sense and the travelers like them.
I certainly like them. I've had an opportunity to stay in a few of them since I started this assignment in mid-February, and it's a fascinating business model, and I think it plays in very nicely to how we want to live like a local is the line that we're getting from some companies now. You really feel part of that community, part of that neighborhood, but more importantly, I got to talk to Bruce Ford. You can find the Bridge Street Global YouTube channel. We'll be putting that up any day now, and also shot something like 28 videos in 2 days. That's a lot of interviews, Bruce. And I am tired, but I'm happy to end with number 29.
Well, it's my pleasure to be number 29. I've always liked 29. The interesting thing about what you're doing there with Bridge Street is that the wild success of Airbnb has to be playing into this investment scenario. Tell me about that.
Interestingly enough, Bridge Street puts their products on Airbnb.
Well, excellent. Okay.
Yeah.
No, I would have expected that. I didn't know the answer.
Right.
Okay, but I guess I would have expected that. And, people are looking for that. I mean, Airbnb is a topic every hotel conference we go to, trying to amass the information and include the information about what's going on in that segment. And really, as I've said, certainly there's a surge in supply there. Okay. But I do believe that many of these places were available to rent all along. We can now just aggregate them in a different way and measure it.
Well, that's really the trick to the whole thing, and that's why we've seen vacation homes take off. People have always liked them, and I remember many, many years ago, Bruce, we went to a bachelor party at a rented home in the middle of the woods in Pennsylvania, right?
Uh-huh.
Now, besides the bachelor party, I came away with the notion of how cool is the vacation home rental experience, right?
Yeah, well,
and I just wish I had better access to it, and now it's here.
Now it's here. It's very true. I'm a member of Disney Vacation Club, and certainly I enjoyed that experience. I did it last week, as a matter of fact. But at the same time, I'm kind of traditional in the way when I go to cities and the way I use the product that I'm staying at. I do tend to still sway towards hotels, but I have many friends and many colleagues who choose the Airbnb aspect in certain parts and certain types of travel that they're doing. And to me, I get mine with the vacation club, but the idea is still the same.
Right. And what I like about this type of niche is that one of the lessons I'm learning through experience and through what I'm hearing is that level of comfort and convenience that some of the Airbnb product doesn't offer. I've heard stories about Airbnb with the guy said he'd meet me at 2 with the key, didn't show up till 5, right?
Or
that
you got
kind
the
of stuff.
5th floor on the Lower East Side on a walk-up.
Right. And that wasn't mentioned
And you have
in
brought a
the
big
paperwork.
bag.
Right. So the thing with the service department sector is you have that level of professional confidence, I think, behind it because you're not dealing with a traditional peer-to-peer network where everybody is, for lack of a better word, amateurs.
Yep. Well, that's fair. And, there is an aspect of that. And I think one of the things I learned about the type of supply that's out there is that aspect of the individual peer-to-peer and even that shared guest room or shared unit experience where you're renting a bedroom in somebody else's house is still pretty prevalent on Airbnb style offerings. And it's a little bit more than people think in many cases in terms of how much inventory that really is.
Yeah, I mean, what's fascinating to me is how powerful they've become in terms of their market valuation. They're about equal to Marriott, which is incredible, because they're such a different business model. Yet we can put them in the same kind of
Still
universe.
a good idea to collect fees, Glenn. It's always been a good idea to collect
no matter what
fees.
Wall Street says.
It's
right?
always a good idea.
Yeah.
Develop a cash flow stream and let's go.
So overall, I think that this is a big signal to the way that we're changing, the way that we're addressing the traveler. And extended stay falls into this universe. And Bridge Street, for example, is going to be doing deals with those kind of companies as well. I think, and I've been calling it for the last couple of years, that I think this is where product is starting to evolve too, because people are becoming more sophisticated and specific about the services they want. And this is a product that serves a large chunk of audience a good number of times they travel.
So when we started in the industry, Glenn, extended stay was defined as
That's right.
1 to 2 weeks or a month time stay.
And when we started, it was pretty much just Residence Inn.
Yep, more or less. And then Homewood came along and Staybridge came along. And most of what those brands were going for, though, was that long-term guest. And probably in the last, I'd say 5 or 6 years, that's evolved again. Okay, and now you're getting extended stay hotel brands developing in Manhattan, in city centers. And those extended stay offerings in the city centers are competitive with the full service hotels in terms of price, but the room's bigger.
Right. I'll take it up. I'll see you that and raise you one. Right. What I'll say is that the extended stay product is now a cornerstone of the multi-branded, dual, triple branded type of property. There's always that extended stay component, and we're seeing a lot more of those projects being created, proving how critical it's becoming to the hospitality industry.
Yeah, it's fair to say that every one of the major global hotel companies has their place in extended stay, and they're doing multi-tiers of extended stay in terms of chain scale classification. And those extended stay hotels, similar to their, quote, select service on the other side, or the Hampton Inn, Hilton Garden Inn, or the Fairfield kind of Spring Hill Courtyard offering, when you start to compare what's going on there, extended stay is significant. And I'll give you this statistic, Glenn. Are you ready?
I don't. Hold on.
All right.
I am ready for a statistic now.
We may be in Europe, but in the United States, the Home 2 by Hilton,
Yes.
construction pipeline,
Yes.
okay, by room,
I feel like we should have a drum roll.
is higher than Hampton Inn today.
What? Wait. All right. So let's break this down. On the surface, I understand that means it's really awesome for Home 2. But I think I could make an argument saying that that Hampton is so built out that you're not going to see the number increase compared to a brand that's got a lot of fresh markets to go into.
Well, this is a new development, Glenn, because Hampton Inn has led for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right. One of the aspects of that certainly is that there's over 2,000 Hampton Inns.
Yeah.
How many more places you're going to put it?
Right.
Okay, but at the same time, the Home 2 brand has truly shown great legs in getting developed, and congratulations to Hilton on that one, for certain. Okay, that brand is launching at the speed that Hilton Garden Inn was launching, and of course their new brand, True, already has more than 200 signed projects, Glenn.
Which is still phenomenal to me.
Yeah, and it's only 13 months old, 14 months old.
Yeah, about 14.
So they're going to have the first couple opening here in the middle of the year, and we're all excited to see it. But every brand that gets announced going forward, Glenn, we're supposed to hate it more, right? Because as we get older and the brands are developed for people younger than us, okay, we appreciate it, but it's not necessarily for us.
Right.
Okay, there's no – I mean, I go into the True brand and I kind of feel like, you know, it's just not for me. It's not what I would choose. I mean, as we sit here in a beautiful Waldorf Astoria hotel,
right?
Okay, it's not for me.
But that's okay, and that's what the point is with why these companies have so many brands to them. We're really entering, as I've been talking about for years, that era of personalization, and brand choice is a critical component of that. What is my psychographic? Chip Conley, who started Joie de Vie, was all about creating hotels with magazines and the whole idea of psychographics. Then he went on to be a big advisor at Airbnb, So he saw this trend decades before I think it's been realized. And now we're seeing so many brands hyper-focused on specific audiences. It's very interesting. Every city I go to, I can have something that really meets my personality near complete.
Lodging demand is very dynamic, continues to change, and the way people consume hotels and out there today has changed in the 20 years that we've really been in the business, Glenn.
I would argue even since the end of the Great Recession, the last 5 years, things have changed dramatically.
Yeah, and the lodging need and the lodging opportunity for developers and investors continues to get better in many places around the world. So it's not just a Europe thing. It's not just a U.S. thing. I mean, select service development, whether it be Hampton Inn, Hilton Garden Inn, Fairfield, Courtyard, Spring Hill, Holiday Inn Express, Staybridge, whatever it is that's going into those urban centers is definitely a trend, and it's even spreading out to Dubai. I'm doing a panel, a roundtable tomorrow.
You had great numbers on Dubai and London, and I was surprised to see economy in Dubai. I never expected to see something like that at all in that market.
Well, in the last cycle, they built all the full-service hotels, so now they're kind of filling out the playing card, if you will, and building more mid-scale and economy and upscale. An upscale pipeline, if they built everything right now, they would double the supply of upscale branded hotels in Dubai by the end of that time. So go from 36 to 72. So
that's a big jump.
It's significant. Yeah, it's significant, and that's the type of development that's happening down there. And the Middle East has come back, even at the rates of Europe, so that's been a pretty positive development.
That is a positive development. I want to go back to the United States for a second, and we were talking about all of these different brands that have come into the market. We've also seen a lot of construction over the last 20 years. If my property is 20 years old now, it was built in a different universe. The bathrooms are a lot smaller. It doesn't necessarily have the structure that's applicable to today's audience. How do you maneuver through that? Can you just, shift flags, which is the major brands like to do, or is it more of a deeper crisis, do you think?
Well, it's a different time in your investment cycle for sure. If you're a 20-year-old select service hotel, I think you've already been through the conversation with that brand about how to modernize towards the new prototype. Obviously, you can't be the new prototype, but the need to modernize towards that new prototype design so that you can maintain. Because the key is with the select service hotel, if you've done the investment in the location and the property correctly, when you reach that 18, 19-year point, you want to get a 10-year extension so you can keep in that brand that's really made sense up until you're 25 or 30. That's where you want to be, okay? And for the people that built it originally, it's not as common as you would think that somebody owns a hotel for that long. typically the investment cycle of ownership is 7 or 8 years.
Right, which makes a lot of sense, and I would know that being an insider. But for a lot of folks that are listening to the show that are on the road warrior side, working at the front desk, just getting their feet wet in the business, it's so very true that there are people that it's a family business and they own it and it's their passion and their life's work. But for most folks, it's a real estate investment. It's not I want to be a hotelier investment.
Yep. When these select service provide a tremendous return on investment, which is why they're so darn popular. And, of course, it helps that the U.S. has had record occupancy for the past couple of years, too. Yeah. So that doesn't mind too much, I guess we could say. But, we're on the kind of the year end, and obviously we spent a lot of time talking about the economy over here in Europe, and we talked a little bit about the pipeline and where it's growing. Some of the places that it's growing, certainly Amsterdam in the Netherlands, London has a very robust pipeline, as does Russia, and Germany also has a very robust pipeline with almost 125 projects going on in Germany, which is significant. It's first time we've seen something like that in a while. So the brands are looking to, spread out over here in Europe, and we've had comments from the CEOs, Glenn, about, Arnie said here in Berlin his goal is to go to 2 million.
Wow.
And I'm sure he'd like to see that as the CEO of Marriott. And
you think?
He expressed some very unique statistics about, the need to continue to grow even in the down cycle and the need to continue to acquire. And you would believe that he's looking.
Okay.
I mean, they just consumed Starwood, for God's sake.
Yeah, and that's going to be a lot to work out. But, yeah, I could see them consuming more. I mean, I could see all the mega companies consuming more. I mean, that's kind of the way that we're going. How do you see the need to satisfy Wall Street with adding numbers of hotels with the fact that there could be, and there always are, underperforming hotels in the system? So do you, as a CEO, do you get rid of those or just try to sell new deals or have a new deal in place, then get rid of them, or just get rid of them because of the quality towards the consumer, or perhaps just let those hotels stay in the system so you can keep increasing your numbers?
The key here is when you do partnerships with people and the way that you build your company. What Marriott did many years ago, was there was a guy in like every region, a couple guys who were the developers. It was a tough club to get into. When they first started, here's the companies that build them in New England, and here's the companies that build them in California. And those companies started the brands. Then they went through the REIT process in the 90s of putting many of those select service hotels into other ownership structures, but maintained management. And today, it's a little bit broader, obviously, with Marriott with 30-plus brands. The way, that you're building revenue there is to continue to have increasing cash flow that can be somewhat guaranteed. And those major hotel companies have seen the real estate isn't necessarily the best play for them. It's the franchise fees.
Right, which is why most have an asset-light strategy these days.
Correct. And there's going to be more and more and more of the hotels that are developed that won't be managed by the brands either. And which is obviously a broadly different strategy than we grew up in the industry with.
Yeah, very, very true. Especially you, since your father has been in the industry as well.
Oh, I can remember days, as a young man touring hotels, whatever city we went to. That was always part of the vacation agenda, if you will.
I love that. That's so cool that you were exposed to it at such a young age, and it's always been part of your life.
It was always about what the hotel was, whether we were staying there or we had to see the other ones in town. From days as a young man, it was pretty cool. So today I like to go and look at hotels, and we obviously saw a few while we were here in Berlin. And your general sentiment on Berlin, Glenn, what do you think?
My general sentiment on Berlin. Well, it's tough. It's tough for me to say that I accurately got it. But this is kind of how I feel. Now, another disclaimer before I start. It's probably because I spent half a day touring, and the sites that I saw may have affected my opinion. But what I will say is the city seems to someone said, wear their scars very well, right? But I see it as almost being really fixated on our past. And maybe now they're just starting to look to the future, but they've been so focused on what's happening. And to be fair, it's only been 25 years since the Berlin Wall came down, right? So I can imagine how long it's taken for them to go through. So I feel like in a lot of ways they were living their history of the Cold War and World War II. But in a lot of ways, they're starting to move on and move forward to it. I think it's an interesting country, and I will say this. Best beer I think I've ever
I don't
had.
see Glenn drink beer very much, but he's had a few in Berlin.
Oh, my God, do I love the beer here. And the good news is, as soon as we wrap this thing up,
we're going to go get a beer.
Exactly. But, make sure you check out my Facebook page because I've got a giant beer that was the most delicious thing that I've had in terms of beer. I thought some of the American craft brews were good, but these guys, of course, I mean, it's hard to hundreds of years of history.
And we were remarking in the restaurant last night of the high percentage of beer drinkers versus liquor drinkers.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just so amazing. And at the cocktail party tonight, back to IHIF, we'll wrap this up in a nice little bow. They had fresh draft beer there. Hardly ever see that at any other hotel industry event.
Yep, it was good. It was actually an 020 ale, which was nice.
And there were a couple of others there. I had one, I don't remember what the name is, but it had lots of K's and vowels and stuff like that in it.
Was there an umlaut?
I know, yeah, yes, and R's and all sorts of things. That's the thing that I'm taking away from Germany is when I read English, I only kind of glance at the words.
Yeah.
In German, you have to really focus on them and dedicate some brain power to reading them.
Fair enough. I agree. We go through the subway stations. I'm like, huh?
Right. Exactly right. Fortunately, my kids are taking German. I'm going to bring them back next time. They'll do all the translating for me.
Excellent move.
Yeah. Any final words before we wrap up, Bruce Ford?
Well, it's an exciting kickoff to 2017, and we're looking forward to both industry growth and some new announcements from Lodging Econometrics coming down the street in the next few months.
Oh my goodness!
So,
new announcements.
Yeah, should be some good stuff. So
you could just tell me right now, right here, off the record, quietly in our room at the Waldorf.
Well, Glenn, it's an exciting time, and therefore we have to create exciting things. So technology will be the big play for us going forward. So.
Excellent. Well, I look forward to seeing more, and we will have you back. Because how could I do the No Vacancy podcast without regular visits from Bruce Ford?
You can't. I keep you grounded, Glenn. So I'm happy to help out where I can.
Someone has to. I need one more plug from you. How can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter at BFINH, Lodging Economet. On Twitter also is the company account. You can find us on LinkedIn, Lodging Econometrics. And, of course, anytime you'd like to connect, be Ford at lodgingeconometrics.com.
Excellent. Wow. All right. So, thank you, Bruce, for being here. Guys out there, listen, I say this every time. I saved it to the end this time. 5 stars on iTunes. It's not that hard. I don't ask much. I gave you great sparkling conversation here with Bruce Ford. Stop everything that you're doing. I know you're traveling. Go on your iPhone. Give me 5 stars. Not that hard. Make sure you subscribe. Pass it around to your friends, to your family. Read my stuff at Hotel Management Magazine. Watch my stuff on the YouTube channel at Bridge Street Global. And make sure you listen to the No Vacancy podcast every week. And hey, while we're at it, I want to thank you guys for listening. You guys are awesome. You support me and have me speak at your next event. Why not? Reach me at Traveling Glenn on Twitter. Find me on
with
Facebook.
2 N's, baby.
BFINH. Twitter for Bruce Ford. Thank you all for listening, and we will be right back after this commercial break.
Have a question for your host, Glenn? Tweet him now at Traveling Glenn. No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast. We'll be right back.
Hey everyone, thanks so much for listening to the No Vacancy podcast with me, Glenn Hausman. You're listening to this right now. That's right, right now. You're listening. But you're not the only one. Many others are too. So my question is, do you want to get noticed? Guess what? I can help you with that. Every single month, my content delivers more than 100,000 impressions. I know. I thought the same thing too. Now it's your time to get you or your product, service, or brand known by leveraging my network. I'll work with you to find creative solutions that are going to get your message to the ears and eyes that you need to attract. Just send me a note at glenn@rouse.media or find me on Twitter at travelingglenn. That's glenn@rouse.media, ROUSE.MEDIA. And while we're at it, Glenn has got 2 N's. Thanks for listening, and now back to more great content.
Have a question for your host, Glenn? Tweet him now at Traveling Glenn. No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast. We'll be right back.
Good. So every single year I get to go to Phoenix. Usually it's just once a year. It's for the annual lodging conference. And for the Road Warrior folks that are listening to the show, lodging conference is essentially an event at the Arizona Biltmore Resort, which is a nice resort in the Scottsdale area. And it's a chance for all of the top industry executives to hang out with each other and, typically pat each other on the back about how awesome they are. And it's so much fun to be with those people and to be in that in that space. But the one thing I don't get to do, and it really frustrates me so much, is I don't get to go out and experience Scottsdale enough as a visitor. I've had a couple of opportunities to do it. Of course, I'm a hotel wonk guy, so I like to go out and check out all the new properties, but I haven't had the chance to really enjoy Scottsdale in the way that I should. So I'm going to try to make that up today by speaking with Rachel Sacco. She's president and CEO of All Things Experience Scottsdale. Rachel, how are you?
I am great, and I'm sitting here in sunny Scottsdale looking out to a blue, blue sky with just a couple fat, puffy white clouds floating by, and just wishing we were having a cup of coffee in person together.
I do too. Number one, this conversation is getting off on a really poor footing because yesterday morning I had to take the train into Manhattan, and it was 6 degrees out, so spare me your beautiful weather and nice fluffy cloud talk. It makes me sad.
Well, can I tell you to be on the lookout as you're going into your office that we are doing train wraps that will basically, even though the weather there in Manhattan and New York area is probably a little bit chilly right now and maybe a little bit wet, maybe a little gloomy, you will be able to step inside a train that looks like sunny Scottsdale, perhaps, as it goes through maybe Grand Central Station. So just be on the lookout for that because you could vicariously have just a little bit of a thaw if you're sitting inside one of those trains.
I will, and I think that's really it's really nice that you're connecting with us cold, frigid people up here in the Northeast because, quite frankly, you guys seem to have taken off in the last 20, 25 years as a great tourism destination and a place that a lot of us folks go to, warm our souls before, spring training for baseball begins down by you as well.
Well, you're our favorite target market. We love chilly people that want to warm their souls, and we have no end of ideas for how you can do that in Scottsdale, of all places. So I'm hoping that you'll have a chance to do that shortly because you've got a long winter ahead, so I hear,
right,
or so I'm reading.
Thanks for rubbing it in. I appreciate that. But, what I like is that you guys are in a great climate. You're known for a lot of things, but for the average traveler, I think we could learn a little bit about more what's going on with Experience Scottsdale, not just from a destination point of view, but also how you operate as an organization. And what I'm interested in now, besides hearing about all the great golf courses and all that good stuff and the terrific food and beverage I've experienced down there, I want to know a little bit about how you're changing the brand to better relate to today's target traveling audience. I think you went through a whole rebranding process, right?
We went through a rebranding process that took us over 18 months, and that's how seriously we take the fact that we are the keeper of the flame, that flame being our brand. And when you are in a community whose main business is tourism, you know that residents really resonate with whatever brand we put out there to the world about this place that we live in. And so we take it very seriously. So it took us 18 months to really look at what are perceptions of Scottsdale, not just from people who have been here before, but equally important, people who have never been here before, and what do they think and why aren't they coming here? And we wanted to make sure that we looked at all of our important demographic age groups and also at the various geographic markets in which we are pulling visitors from and those areas in which we're not, and what can we do to increase the ability for people to think about at least considering Scottsdale for their next meeting or vacation.
18 months is an extremely long time, nearly as much time as it takes for me to figure out what I want for dinner on any given night.
Or to have 2 babies.
Right. Well, we knocked that out in one. We just had twins, so we cut that down in half. We're about efficiency here in New York, Rachel. We like to get things done.
I know you are.
Yeah.
I know you are, and I really respect it. We're about relaxation and just taking our time down here and relaxing, revitalizing.
Right. Now, when I hear relaxing, revitalizing, I seem to think about an older demographic, right? You seem to be a great place to go and retire. But I also get the sense that maybe I'm wrong about that. What kind of demographics are you appealing to today? Or maybe you're even focusing more on that psychographic profile these days.
Well, that was one of the things we learned in the research. Let me start by saying I have been in this position for 30 years, so I'd like to think that I know a little bit about Scottsdale, and that's the danger, is that you can think you know everything from the perspective of living here and working here and knowing all the wonderful things that you think everyone else knows. In reality, 18 months of research and developing concepts and testing them showed us that there's a lot that the general public doesn't know about Scottsdale. Right. But the good news is there's an opportunity for us to connect with people that frankly told us they want what we have, they just don't know we have it. So a lot of our demographic has been people who can aspire to come to Scottsdale because it's a great resort destination with lots of wonderful amenities. We do have the luxury of having an affluent base that comes here.
Oh, yeah.
But one of the things that our research told us was that we have amenities that appeal to every single age group, from millennials to Gen Xers to baby boomers, and equally male and female. And that to us was an eye-opener. We just weren't necessarily telling our story as richly and deeply as we could. And now we've learned how to do that because our potential customers have told us, this is how you need to talk to us if you want us to come there. And what a gift is that?
That's really great. And I want to ask you about that. But to me, it used to be Scottsdale was all about going ahead and playing golf or hanging out by the swimming pool. Or if I happen to own a whole lot of amethyst, then I'd have to go up to Sedona and hang out up there. Right? But other than that, I could see why you needed to clarify your message in order to get it out. And the destination competition is becoming so critical right now. It's just so many people out there trying to win that business. And if you're trying to attract me up here in the Northeast, you've got to fight against, Florida and all of these other destinations that are pretty popular out there.
I'm really glad you said that. And as your audience of road warriors knows better than anybody, people in the hospitality business, we look like we are so nice and genteel because we are in the hospitality business, for heaven's sakes. And from the outside perspective, nobody knows that this business is more difficult and competitive than any consumer product business. I mean, talk about Pepsi versus Coke. It's nothing compared to the destination marketing and management area, because our affluent consumer can go anywhere in the world, and they do. So why would they come back to a destination unless you give them some compelling reason to? And that was what we learned in our research. All the different areas that we have to offer to people, and what we're known for, and what we don't even have to spend our time talking about, such as golf. We're known for golf. We're known for resort. And so people said, you don't need to tell me that. Don't use your airspace or your ad space to tell me what I already know. Tell me something that's going to make me emotionally connect with Scottsdale and make me want to discover something there. And that's what the focus of our campaign that I'll talk about later is all about.
Yeah, I love how you say emotionally connect because, we haven't spoken before, but if you know me, those are a couple of my buzzwords. I'm all about talking about that emotional connection to guests because really it's not about having a nice chair in a hotel or a great golf course. It's about how you make people feel. And the way to do that is by really connecting emotionally with them. So what are some of the ways that you're finding through your research that you need to change the brand in order to make sure that people fully understand that they're going to be able to have that positive experience that resonates with them long after they board the plane and go back home?
Well, I'm going to give you two examples. One is kind of tactical, and then one is getting back to that emotional thing, which is really where everyone needs to be in that space of emotion. Tactically, we recognize that because we have so much to talk about, we made the mistake that many of our colleagues do, which is we try to list everything, lest we, God forbid, leave something out that you might be interested in. And the consumer is so savvy, they don't need a listing of our attributes. They need something that connects with them enough so that they'll say, let me check that out. So we scrapped the way we've been advertising for decades, and instead we looked at how do we first, in the second that you may be looking at our ad in a newspaper or a print magazine, or in 30 seconds of seeing us on television, how do we connect with you enough so that you'll come back and go, well, let me look at their website, or let me even do a little research with my travel agent about that destination. So what we decided to do was look at all the things that you might not know about us, and all of the things that, frankly, you might have heard and are misunderstood and that we call myths, and to turn them on their ear in a bit and give you something to kind of go, that's curious, I'd like to know about that. And that's why we emotionally developed a connection and a campaign that we call Absolutely Scottsdale that helps us really explain our brand. And what we learned about our brand that continues to always be true from the days that Frank Lloyd Wright came here, to develop his winter home, to up to now in 2017, which is people are looking for places that make them feel better. And it doesn't matter if you're 19 years old or if you're 70 years old. We want to go someplace that broadens our perspective, and then when we come back, we feel just a bit better. And verbatim in our focus groups, people told us who have been here before, I don't know what it is about Scottsdale, but I got to tell you that I feel better when I come home after I've been to Scottsdale. And we heard that more than once, more than several times. And after a while, it was like, wow, people are coming here to be revitalized and to relax, but also not just bliss out and relax. They're looking for some of the adventure, the light adventure that we have here. So we know that we have a sweet spot between adventuresome activities and relaxation and authentic, wonderful, friendly atmosphere and natural scenic beauty that you don't find just everywhere, that really gave us a platform and a sweet spot that we had not utilized before.
I like that. That's really a great point of view to be thinking of it in that way. It's organic, and it's really in the way that people are looking to have that travel experience. I know when I'm going away on a vacation, I like to mix the laziness with some of that adventure, and then if I'm in Scottsdale, with a great meal from the Southwest for sure to finish it off. But
I wish I could send you some box of salsa and some chips right now, and some great guacamole, and maybe a beer or two, a cerveza. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, well, email me some. That should work.
I will.
Right?
I'll send you some photos.
I'll just look at them.
I'll Uber one over.
And just be sad that I'm not there with you right now. But I like that. I like that you're hip, you're cool, you're going to Uber it. And by the way, I love using Uber when I'm down in Scottsdale. It's a great way for me to get around and not have to worry about going out and enjoying myself too much. And how am I going to get back to my hotel at the end of the night?
Yeah, Uber is so easy everywhere. And here, it's very easy to get around. It really is. We don't really have the we think we might have traffic, but compared to where most of our customers are coming from, they're like, traffic? This is a breeze. This is great. Right. It's easy to get around, and Uber is always perfect in every destination.
You just have a lot of really long, straight roads with traffic lights.
We are long and skinny like a model. That's exactly what we are. We're a long, skinny destination, and but you can't get lost because there's only a few roads that go from one end of the city to the other, and if you get on one of those, you're golden.
Well, I just hope that I feel pretty enough to come and hang out in your model city.
You are beautiful, and
thank you.
And the great thing is, you're going to feel so much better after you've left here that you're going to be even more beautiful. How's that for a winter?
That's great. Wow, you are speaking my language, Rachel. Boosting up my my poor ego here. Here I was trying out for Beauty and the Beast roles, and now you're telling me that I shouldn't be doing that. So that makes me feel good.
You're totally the beauty.
Thank you. So this whole conversation is actually built around me trying to feel good about myself. I don't really care about Scottsdale, Rachel. This is the unvarnished truth is coming out here today. All right. So you've been at this now in Scottsdale for 30 years. So you did this 18-month research project. So I'm sure that some of it made sense to you because obviously you're a smart professional that sees that the world is changing, but I'm sure that you had some surprises too, which led you to creating your new ad campaign and how you approach the crowd. What is most surprising to you, either something you knew or something you learned with how customers are thinking about destinations and what they want from them?
One of the surprises for us in Scottsdale was we know that we live in an environment what we call the Sonoran Desert. Mm-hmm. The Sonoran Desert is one of the most beautiful and diverse ecosystems on our planet. It truly is. And I mean that even scientifically, it's such a diverse ecosystem. And we thought that as we describe the Sonoran Desert, that the person who's never been here before would understand that we mean lush and mm-hmm. green and flowers in the springtime.
Yes.
And full of life. And yet, if you've never been to a desert, the first thing that comes in your mind is maybe something that is Sahara Desert-like
right. mm-hmm.
or very barren. And so we could not understand why people would say, oh, gosh, that's right, you're in the desert, and we are envisioning this lush, green, beautiful place with hawks soaring above and, mm-hmm. you know, and kind of the spiritual oasis. And the other person on the other end of the phone or whatever is envisioning, oh my goodness, it's hot. It could be scary. I'm seeing that, is there a snake that could possibly be out there? And why would I want to go there? Mm-hmm. And so we started taking that feedback. It was an aha for us. It may be so obvious. That's what I mean about when you do something for a long time, the obvious becomes right. your point of clarification. It's like, oh my goodness, how did I miss that? Mm-hmm. And so we decided to say, you know what, we've heard this a lot. And we're going to say, that's right. You think the desert is hot? Well, you know what? It is. It's absolutely blazing, but it's absolutely what you need right now. And we developed a campaign about absolutely Scottsdale that took some of the myths about the desert and about our destination and turned them around in a really funny way so that you might say, okay, you think that Scottsdale or the desert is dangerous, and we show this wonderful vignette right. of this family with a little boy in a pool, and he's got one of those life jackets on that has a shark fin on it that looks so dangerous in the pool. And we're like, yes, it's absolutely dangerous.
Yes.
And it's exactly what you need right now. So we learned that the desert was not a point of clarification, but if people can see it and experience it, it becomes an adventure and maybe a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And so they're interested in it if we could describe it better. And secondly, they didn't see us as a vibrant destination that had a lot of youthful amenities and a lot of things besides spa and golf and resort. Right. And so we started showing that we're not just a place where your grandparents used to go to. This is a place that has so much vibrancy. And as we started showing that in our campaign, we actually saw that we were able to turn people's perceptions around so much that before seeing our ads and then after testing them in all age brackets, the propensity to actually go to Scottsdale increased by over 25% once they saw our new ad campaign, wow. which we were, of course, thrilled with. So it was a matter of we weren't telling our story effectively, richly, and deeply enough.
And that says it perfectly because I've seen some of the ads, and what I find different about them is you're not dealing with the same images that I see with every destination. You know, I'm tired of seeing people playing golf. I'm tired of the woman with rocks on her back at the spa, and in sand destinations, I'm tired of seeing a couple walking lovingly hand in hand on the beach. You know,
we've seen it, and it could be anywhere, right? There are lots of destinations.
Right, it doesn't define the destination, but here you have people in a 4x4 driving through a lush desert. You see some of the things that they could experience, and it makes me feel and want to be there. And you see actually the fascination in the people's eyes about the experiences that they're having there, even when it comes down to the moms knowing wink at the shark child, right? So, you know, all of these things come together to create a very different palette from which you're pulling from that's new, that's different, and that we haven't seen before and have gotten, quite frankly, bored from before.
Well, thank you so much for mentioning that, Glenn. And again, to your audience who, as road warriors, have experienced all of the joys of trying to market, 2 hours worth of content into a 30-second spot and grab someone emotionally. For us, we just recognize that the way to tell your story is not necessarily in your 30-second opportunity to connect with someone. You tell those stories about all those activities the way they are best told in our connection with media, and as we're doing today, or on your website. And so we're doing a lot more work of making sure that we have local influencers who can tell our potential customers and repeat customers, here are some things that I love about Scottsdale.
Right.
And maybe that on your next trip you want to see. They're not necessarily secrets, but they're things that maybe you don't know about on your first trip here. So we're telling our story in a more effective way. And again, the research, because every step of the way, which is why it took us 18 months, we kept testing our concepts and making sure we were on the right track because we didn't want to mess this up. So we know that we're connecting in a way that gives us an opportunity to increase repeat visitation, but we're hearing also that people are starting to come here for the first time because now they're compelled to say, I'd like to discover that. And it's easy to get here, and we have really 4 seasons. Even the summertime, which is not our maybe our high season, is a season in which there's a lot of things to do, and people who maybe don't want to come in the midst of our high season can actually come and have an incredible experience for the first or second or third time.
Beautiful. Makes a lot of sense. So I love what you're talking about now. You talk about telling stories. So does that mean you're able to connect with individual subsets of consumers? Because one of the problems I see with a lot of destination marketing is by trying to appeal to everybody, you wind up appealing to nobody, and that doesn't do anybody any good.
You're so right. And one of the pitfalls is when you're in your local community, and particularly if that community is very dependent upon tourism, as our destination is, everybody feels like their amenity is the main attraction. And in many ways it is, depending on the customer who's looking at it. So if you have great golf, championship golf, of course everyone says lead with that. If you are known for the most fabulous resorts on the planet, as we have been known for, of course everyone says lead with that. We've got some great restaurant stories, and of course everyone says talk about that. We have been an art destination since we began, and so people want to hear about that too. But you cannot, again, fall prey to listing everything because it just doesn't resonate. So those stories are being told in many different ways by really looking at media that focus on those niches that can then really develop that connection to their particular reader in a much more personal way. Or on our website. We've completely redone our website so that we're looking at storytelling as opposed to listings of amenities and experiences, and really developing itineraries that have experiences depending on what your interests are. So it's all about you again. It's all about you, Glenn. It's all about you, the customer, and that's where we should have always been playing in.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, and that's what I keep telling my wife. It's all about me, but no, she doesn't want to hear that. But
well, when you bring her to Scottsdale and she relaxes a lot and has a great time, then that always changes.
That's great. Well, thank you. I think that I'm going to have to do that with her. But that aside, who are some of the groups that you think are most likely now to come down to Scottsdale? We keep hearing all about these, these young whippersnapper millennials. Are you really appealing to them? Is the baby boomer audience really your thing? Or how do you see that slicing and dicing and getting that market to come visit you?
I think the audience that we have been known for and has been so tried and true for us has been the baby boomer audience. However, again, that audience is one that we want to continue to keep and appeal to, and we know how to speak to them because we have had experience speaking to them, and they basically have helped shape our destination. However, the eye-opener for us is in our testing. The things that we have as attributes tested equally well with millennials and Gen Xers as they did with baby boomers. And I had to really do a reset on that because I was like, is this really true? And as I looked at the research, our messaging across the board spoke equally well to all 3 of those. So while we have been, per se, catering to our baby boomer audience because we know them and they're very repeat and they help us shape our experiences, we were missing out on the more Gen X audience as well as the millennial audience, and we don't have to change our experiences. The great news is for us, the product that we have appeals to them. We just weren't talking to them in their language.
Beautiful.
So, of course, they were tuning us out. So that's changed, and so we are starting to experience more and more from Gen X and Millennial. A great example, which is happening in just next week or the week after, we have two nationwide acclaimed events. One is the Barrett-Jackson Classic Car Auction, and one is the Waste Management Open in Scottsdale, which is also known by the PGA as the greatest game on grass. And those two events that have been here for, well, Barrett-Jackson over 40 years, and the Waste Management Open in Scottsdale for over the last 25 years or so, those are examples of an opportunity when baby boomers, Gen Xers, and increasingly millennials are coming to town because they're interested. People say, oh, I don't know that the young folks are interested in cars. That is not true, because all you have to do is go to that auction and you will see people of all walks that are there, and they're really interested in cars as art and the experience of cars and horsepower, because there's polo events going on at the same time, and how incredible that is. Also, the Waste Management Open in Scottsdale is what not known as, it's known as the greatest game on grass, not just for the golf. It is a happening. It is like its own little Coachella, if you will, but without the music. And if you haven't been,
I saw this year's lineup.
Experience.
It might be better off to do Coachella without the music.
I will tell you, pardon me, it is one of the funnest events you could possibly go to. Anytime that you've got 500,000 people there that are having great fun, they're outside, they are having lots of camaraderie, lots of food and beverage, out amidst great weather, and they're watching golf. It's really, really fun, and it's so unusual, and I don't think it's experienced that way anywhere else. At least that's what everyone in the golf business tells us. It's not even a golf event. It's a lifestyle event. So we have a lot of events that appeal to the younger crowd, if you will, but also appeal to anyone who has a sense of, I just want to have adventure and fun, and when I get there, I just want to have a relaxing, easy time. And we can serve that up, and who wouldn't want that, no matter what age you are?
Yeah, you got that right. And I think that that's one of the red herrings we've been dealing with here in the hotel industry. We have made ourselves believe that baby boomers, Gen Xers, and millennials are so radically different that they all want different things, and that there's no way that you could appeal to any of them, which is why we see the birth of these hotels geared towards millennials. I argue that we're all really the same. We all have the same likes. It's just that millennials seem to adopt technology a little bit quicker. And if you could speak to them, like you said, which is beautiful, in their own language, then you're really able to connect with them over those same activities that, as people, we all like to do.
May I share with you an insight that that really was interesting for me?
Please do, but only tell me. Don't tell anybody else.
I won't tell anybody else. So okay. you can mute this afterwards to your Red Warriors. But one of the things that we learned that I don't know why it was surprising to me, but it was that in our focus groups, people, again, millennials, Gen Xers, as well as baby boomers, they all expressed this thing. They said, no matter what age they were, they all said, for whatever reason, we are more stressed right now in our lives than we have ever been before. And this was someone who might be 20 years old saying, I am so stressed out, and what I want right now is a chance to reset and revitalize. Same thing with someone who might be 40 years old and raising a family. Same person who might be on the verge of retirement that maybe has more time ahead but is stressed for other reasons. Everyone is so burdened and so preoccupied, and what they all want in equal measure is a chance to connect with those that they love, to feel better about themselves and their health, to do something that may be a bucket list, even if it's nothing that's extravagant. And bucket list things aren't always extravagant. They're just interesting. And to go back home feeling like they're better than when they arrived. And that became part of our new branding. Actually, our brand has always been the same.
Right.
But the articulation of our brand, which we call, effortless revitalization. And because when you come here, it's easy, you reset, you feel better, then you go back home and you're a better person. Maybe you're more creative. Maybe you're nicer to your partner.
Right.
Maybe you're better at work because you took time to recharge. And what better place than to come to a place that's easy to get to, that has lots of opportunity here, and that you could bring almost anyone with you, whether it's your child, your mother, your partner, your best girlfriend, your golf buddy. Anyone has something to do here, no matter what interests they have. That's pretty easy and pretty compelling.
Yeah.
And we were a little bit blind to that.
Right. And it's funny. It brings us back to earlier in the conversation when you get so involved in something, you sometimes don't see the obvious. So it's nice that you shook yourselves up, created this new branding effort. When did it get put into place? Just a few months ago, right?
We just started in the fall to really put our marketing and advertising out there. Our television commercials are running in our target markets across the U.S. and Canada. We're starting to do those station dominations like I referred to in Manhattan and Chicago, where we're wrapping trains and we're wrapping a whole, like, Union Station, the entire station in Chicago. We're wrapping, light rail in San Francisco and wallscapes all over the country. And really the message has been so well received because people love to tell you if you're doing a good job or not so good job.
Really? In the internet era, people have opinions that they like to express?
It's hard to believe that people like to tweet right now, but they tell you, hey, that was great. Or, you know what? I get it. Scottsdale's fantastic. Stop telling me so much, but I am going to visit. Going to visit.
Well, I guess it sounds great, but you definitely don't want to get a tweet saying something along the lines of Scottsdale's very overrated. You definitely don't want to think like that.
I haven't gotten that yet.
Well,
it's
you won't.
Like, I haven't tried it yet, and I'm going to. And would you stop advertising and put it in my face? No, but okay, I got it. It's warm there and it's beautiful, and I'm going. And I love that kind of a tweet. That's great.
Excellent. All right. So, how do you know if this rebranding is actually a success or not?
Well, we have made a commitment beyond the 18 months of research where we did do some test marketing at every step. Like, as an example, these ads were tested before we got to our final our final layout, if you will, to say, are they working for you? And that's when I said that there's 25% more of an inclination to visit once people saw those. Okay, we were like, okay, this must be working. We're continuing to test. So now that our ads are out there, we will continue doing the kind of testing that says, did this sway you? What do you think about it? Did it actually prompt you to make a booking? And that's the kind of information that we're looking for. We'll keep testing. And if we're not on mark, we'll keep tweaking it. We can also tell, frankly, from our partners, our hotel partners.
Right.
Are people starting to take advantage of offers that we're putting out there? Maybe it's booking during a slower season, like our holiday season or like a shoulder season. So we're beginning to, we've always tested that, but we're just doing it a little bit more in depth. So we'll continue doing that to make sure that we're always connecting, because that's the whole thing for us, to develop a relationship with our customer and to stay true to it and to not shy away from, if you tell us that we're not talking to you in your language, then we're going to do our best to learn your language and to come right back at you.
Speaking of languages, I know I'm going to be using it in a different definition. Are you getting a lot of folks from outside the country that speak other languages coming to Scottsdale?
We have a lot of international visitors, and part of it is, again, what I said earlier about being in the Sonoran Desert. For many Europeans in particular, like the Germans, they love the desert. They love the Native American culture. They know more about it than many of our American colleagues here. They, in particular, the British, the French, the Italian, a lot of them are looking to come to a destination that's different. And they love the cultural differences. They love the geographic differences. They have a sense of wonder and curiosity about the desert. So we have been very blessed to have a strong international visitation, also from Canada and also from Mexico. And what we continue to do is try to make it easier for them to try to work on getting more lift into Sky Harbor International Airport. And we're continuing to do that night and day.
So how do you deal with the Canadians out there? You have to add A to all of your signage or something like that so they fully understand
We're happy to do so. I was out last week with a group on the golf course, and I'm telling you, Glenn, if you were there, you would be able to pick out the fabulous Canadians that were there, because we had a little bit of a colder snap for us. It might have been, in the 60s or so. but they're always the ones that are in shorts. And it doesn't matter what the temperature is. They are in shorts, and they are so hale and hearty, and they're so happy. And they're like, oh, my gosh, they're in their short sleeves and their shorts when we locals might be in sweaters. And so we always go, that's our Canadian best friend there.
No doubt. I've seen you guys. You have no tolerance for the cold. But flip it. I've been down there when it's 118 degrees, no joke, and I'm, lying on the floor like a dying animal, and you guys are all outside playing sports. It's an amazing thing to see.
We drink a lot of water here, and we hydrate at all times of the day appropriately, and our hydration options, they differ from morning, afternoon, and evening, of course, which is another reason that Canadians love us, because they love to hydrate, too. Mm-hmm. And speaking of the international visitors, there's nothing more wonderful than seeing someone from gloomy England come in July or August, and they can't get enough of the sun.
I do hear they hate to hydrate,
slather
though.
Them with
so
sunscreen.
they suck when it comes to hydrating.
They love it. They love it.
Yeah. All right. Before we wrap up, you used to have one of those old classic names, Scottsdale Convention and Visitors Bureau. It seems like everybody had that. Now people seem to be switching to funky new names, and you guys got one, Experience Scottsdale. Was that more of a thing to stay with the times, or what was the reasoning behind it?
Well, I found that most people, when we would introduce ourselves as we're here from the Convention and Visitors Bureau, they thought it was akin to I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
Yeah, so it's making me starting to sonore in desert.
Yes,
right
investigation of what? A bureau? Yeah. Or is there a convention? There's not a convention center there. Right. So Experience Scottsdale is just an invitation to do what we do, help you experience it. Everyone gets that, which is great.
So
easy.
After 30 years, how hard is it to remember the new name and have it come out organically without going,
You know what? It was easier than I thought. It was so much easier because you know what? It says exactly what we do, and people get that. Again, it's the language in which people want to talk to us in, so we got it.
Good for you for handling change. I'm not good at handling change. In fact, I'm still writing 2015 on checks, even though it's 2017 now. That's how bad I am with making changes. All right, Rachel, before we wrap up, what else do I need to know? Any final thoughts, anything at all that we didn't get to that you need to get out?
I would say if you have not experienced Scottsdale, just take an opportunity, even just for a couple of minutes, to go to experiencescottsdale.com and read some of the stories and hear some of the experiences that might make you feel better after you've had an opportunity to visit. Because really, at the end of the day, who doesn't want to go someplace where they come back home and they feel better about themselves and their life and their relationships? And if you can do that with a quick trip to Scottsdale, that's a great investment. So check it out, and if you want to talk to me personally, I will help you curate your next experience in Scottsdale.
Great. So obviously, we could find you at experiencescottsdale.com. Any other shameless plugs you want to put out there?
I would just say we welcome you all, and I want to thank you for the opportunity for speaking with you and to having a chance to maybe develop a relationship with your many listeners, your road warriors out there, and I do hope I'll have a chance to see some of them in Scottsdale.
Right, and don't forget about those industry professionals that want to come down and see what you guys are up to as well. So thank you, Rachel. I really appreciate you being here with me today and having such a great long conversation. I always start these calls saying, what the heck am I going to talk about? Now here we are almost 40 minutes later, and it was really great. You made it very, very simple, so thanks for that.
Thank you.
And I want to thank everybody out there for listening to the No Vacancy Podcast with me, Glenn Hausman. Be sure to like us on iTunes. I could use that. The more likes we get, the bigger this community will come, and the more fun that we're going to be able to have together in the future. And I want to thank you for listening week after week after week. Tell a friend. That's the way we're going to get this show to be even more popular than it is now. And I will be back next week with an all-new show. That is, unless I decide to head out to the Scottsdale Desert, and I don't know, join an Indian tribe out there or something. All right, see you guys next week.
Thanks so much for listening to No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast with your host, Glenn Hausman, online at rouse.media, on Twitter at Traveling Glenn, and on Facebook.com/Glenn.Hausman. We'll catch you next time.